Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Fish Fingers and Custard, the Explosion Network's Doctor Who Aftershow. I am Dylan Blight. Joining me as always, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, how you going today?
I'm good. I feel like I enjoyed this episode. Let me say outright. I wake up this morning. I open the tweets. I know it's Doctor Who Day. There's the episode's out. I click on the hashtag. I just want the general consensus because I can't help myself every week even though every week it is more or less it's shit. It sucks. Jodie Whittaker's terrible. Doctor Who's over. Burn it. Rest in peace. Garbage. But I still can't help myself but look at the. That's the majority. Especially go look at the Doctor Who. Especially go look at the Doctor Who Australian Facebook page, for example. All of the comments that have like the highest likes and whatever else that are up the top are all people just shitting on it. Constantly, every week. It's just the same stuff. And I can't help myself but continually look at it for whatever reason. It's just one of those things. You can't help but look away, even though you're like, why am I looking? And it's not like I'm getting involved. I'm not like I'm in there going, use are all wrong and the blah, blah, blah. I just can't help myself but every week just go, I wonder how everyone's feeling this week. Oh, everyone still hates it? Oh, who'd have thought? But yeah, so check it this morning. Everyone's saying the episode's terrible. I'm like, oh, well, we'll see. But then I come out and I'm like, I enjoyed that one. It was fun.
Yeah.
So this week's episode was called Ready for this attempt. What was it? The Tsuranga Conundrum? Does that sound right?
I did.
It was the name of the ship either way. So directed by Jennifer Perrott, written by Chris Chibnall. Synopsis is: injured and stranded in the wilds of a far-flung galaxy, the Dr. Yaz, Graham and Ryan must band together with a group of strangers to survive against one of the universe's most deadly and unusual creatures. So overall, what was your thoughts on this week's episode?
Yeah, it was an enjoyable episode. Felt very much like an episode from previous seasons. Like, I felt like the last couple of episodes were pretty unique to this new season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Cute little alien that, of course, was way worse than it looked like.
Yeah. It was like, oh, it's cute, but then it turns around and opens its mouth and screams, and you're like, oh, this this thing's very.
And apparently,
violent.
we can all look forward to a future where men can have babies.
Yeah, there was, of course, that was one of the biggest complaints. This PC garbage got men giving birth to babies. It's fucking SJW nonsense. First, the doctor's a woman.
SJW.
Look, do you want to try and rationalize the garbage that these people are putting onto the internet?
Not really, but
no.
I would like to see the thought process.
Yeah, good luck. Find it in their fucking cereal box. As far as I'm concerned, it's dead thoughts. I thought it was pretty good. I agree with what you said. It is a very, it does feel like the middle of season Doctor Who episode that we see a lot, like plot wise, I guess. Stranded on a random ship. Oh,
there's some problem.
And it's all the corridors are white, and like they all look the same. It's ever like they all pretty much look the same. These random ships.
It's either that or it's like really dark.
Yeah, I did like the premise of like it was a Red Cross spaceship, I guess. Like basically
it's
thing.
An ambulance ship.
Yeah, ambulance ship, and they all nearly died, and they were saved, and there were some other cool things like the man giving birth to a baby thing was that character was funny and that was interesting, and then there was a couple interesting moments to do with the doctor, like when she was getting really agitated about TARDIS, which we'll get to when we jump into the episode in a moment. But I feel like there was enough. Ryan discussing his dad, so there was stuff. There's stuff, but like even all of that stuff aside, I felt the monster was fine. It wasn't like, oh my god, it was serviceable, I guess. It's not. It wasn't super scary, really. It was just there, but at the same time, it wasn't boring. It was fine. I preferred it to the spiders than last week because it was. I felt like the setup, how they explained, it eats it eats most material, but it won't eat the human flesh or whatever. But basically, it's everything but organic flesh. And then how they get rid of it at the end, like the full spectrum of how they dealt with this week's monster compared to last week's. I was a lot happier with I was like, oh, that makes sense. Bomb. It's the go-to answer for these types of things that you could, like, you could predict it. Oh, they're going to trap it and they're going to send it out into the deep oceans of space, the deep black. I don't know. That was fine though. I enjoyed it.
Oceans? Where'd you get oceans from?
I know. I think I got oceans in my head because I feel like the thing at the end of the episode when they're sending off the general sounded like a sea shanty to send off, like, push the body overboard type thing.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't know if it was supposed to be more on that line or if it was supposed to be more. I suppose it would make more sense. It was supposed to be more of a like a army send off thing. I don't really know, but to me, listening to it, it sounded like some sort of sea shanty type send off to the general, which I did find, and we can read it again at the end because I thought it was a cool sounding thing. But let's jump into the episode, which starts with the Doctor and crew. Graham, Ryan, Yaz, they're all on some junkyard thing. I didn't quite catch the number, but I think she was like, oh, this is junkyard number 60, whatever. Like, oh, maybe we're supposed to be on whatever. I never really understood. 27. Oh dear. I never really understood what they were looking for. I guess just something. It doesn't. It's not really important. I guess they were just on a bit of an adventure. They've had a couple of adventures between the last episode and this one. Some tropical island. I don't really know. There was
some waterfall.
Yeah, like they stopped off. That's the thing that's always funny with Doctor Who, because it's like every episode, the Doctor and the companions, throughout all of the shows ever, they're always getting into trouble to the point that you're like, why would these people stick around if they're always fighting for their life every episode? But then they always slip in these little things where it's like, oh yeah, but you didn't see, between the last few episodes, we went and had like tropical islands and, holiday resorts. Yeah.
And why can't they do an episode where they're just relaxing and nothing's wrong?
Well, I remember that they just show us nothing goes wrong. It's just chill.
It's just like a nature documentary episode.
I mean, I'm down. Sure, why not? Do it.
Hit us up, Chris Chibnall.
Hit us up. They relax. End of episode. Done.
45 minutes of them just at the beach.
I don't know how far that would go. But it sounds like home and away to me. So on the junkyard, they're looking for something, and next second they're pretty much ready to give up on this junkyard place or whatever. And then Graham's like, no, I found something. He's using a very boring looking metal detector. They weren't like, oh, we've got a metal detector of the future. They're just like, it's a metal detector. It looks exactly like all your metal detectors. It's fine though. So then the doctor runs over, lifts off. They lift off material that's on top of it, and they find out it was a sonic mine that has accidentally activated, which is a bit awkward because what's that even doing there in a junkyard, really? Who put that there? The doctor calls it a bit of a joke. That sounds like a horrible teenage joke. We'll put a fucking deadly mine in the middle of this junkyard, but that's fine. So then, doctor scans it. 3, 2, 1. Screen goes blank, and they're dead. But they're not. They got picked up. They're saved. They're awake in a room with a male, female doctors. This is where it gets confusing. I start in my notes this whole episode until I could go find actual character names later to double check them and like refix them in my notes. I'm writing the Doctor and the doctors of the ship talk. The Doctor of the Doctor talks to the Doctor. Don't put doctors in the show with Doctor Who, because then I'm having to write doctors and it all gets way confusing. But they all awake in some room, and these doctors are checking them over, making sure they're okay. Doing normal doctor sort of stuff, I suppose. Looking for name tags on them, but they can't appear to find any. I don't know. I still didn't understand that part. They're like, why don't you have name tags? Is that I was trying to figure out if that's something supposedly from the future. Everyone has name tags injected into them or something along those lines. I'm not really sure about that part, but so then the doctor starts freaking out about the TARDIS. Yeah, the TARDIS. I think she thinks that maybe they've been picked up, and the room they've woken in is, you know, on the other side of the junkyard planet or something. You know, like they still think they're on the junkyard planet at this point. Yeah, but we soon find out they're not, of course. But yeah, the Doctor starts freaking out about losing the TARDIS again. She's just got it back. Not too keen on the idea of leaving a big fancy ship / home on a junkyard scrapper home yard, which makes sense. You're like, that's probably not the best place to leave it. Fully understand. So, the doctor heads off, kind of limping, you know, wobbling around because their bodies are still rebuilding or something along those lines. The sonic wine destroyed their inner organs to a degree or something like that, I think they said.
Just disrupted them, it sounds like.
Disrupted them. Just sent them all. All of a sudden you got your lungs in your eyeball spot and all sorts of things like that. Yeah, that sounds fun. Like that. That sounds like a good old time. So the doctor heads off. She walks into another room and she spots a woman in here that she recognizes. Some famous general. And I wasn't quite sure, but she's like, oh, you're famous. You're in the Book of the Celebrants. Is that not what I heard? Was it something else?
Something like that.
Yeah, I was like, Celebrants? That doesn't sound right, but that's what I've heard and written down. So, yeah, she's like, oh yeah, the doctor's like, you did the battle of the whatever, and she's in this room with her bodyguard, cyborg, android thing, and her brother, we discover. And then the general says, who are you? And the doctor, oh, I'm the doctor. And then the general says, oh, you're in the book too. And the doctor at first, this is the funny part where she's like, no, it's fine. Then she goes to walk out of the room, comes back. She's like, I had a whole volume about me, actually. Ha better than you. Bye. So that was a funny moment, I thought. So then they walk into another room and they meet this is another word I didn't quite catch right, but I think it said Gifton. I think it was like there was a, because it obviously looks like a human, but Doctor Who lore is, you know, human race spreads out and whatever throughout the galaxy. So Gifton is, I think, how it was said. So it's a pregnant man who when asked about why he's pregnant, because of course Yaz and Ryan and everyone's kind of like, that's weird, that's not how it works in our world back on Earth. But he's like, oh, I like the actor who played this dude as well. I felt like he did quite good, because I like how it was just from the get-go, he's just been like, oh, I was on a holiday and wasn't quite careful enough, you know, like just forgot to use protection, pregnant, up the guff. what do I do now?
See, there's the social justice warrior stuff. Yeah. Conservatives jumping in. Use protection. Yeah. Celibacy.
Yeah. That's where all that SJW.
You just have sex one time and you're suddenly pregnant. You give birth a week later.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing. It's like, how long are you pregnant for? Oh, a couple days. Couple days. Yeah. But apparently Gifton's it's a week. Which I was like, I'm sure that seems more hectic, of course, and gives you a lot less chance to think about prepare or consider whoops, abortion, or, you know, anything along those lines. It's like,
you got 5 minutes to make a decision.
Yeah, you got 5 minutes to
it's past the point in which
it's past the point. You can't do anything now. So yeah, gotta stick to it. Giftons have it hard, I feel, is what I felt about it. So yeah, they're like, okay, pregnant man, well, we'll come back to you later. They then head into another room, and the doctor guy begins explaining what they're on, which is basically a Red Cross ship of the space, which is, I began thinking straight on, I'm like, this sounds like it's would be a big thing in the universe if it exists. Why haven't we heard about it before? But then the answer, I suppose, that they can chuck in, oh, it only ran from year whatever, and we've never exactly been in this part of space in Doctor, you know, like, I'm sure they can get away with answering it somehow, but it's one of those things where, like, well, the Red Cross of space, why haven't we seen this before, of all the amount of freaking injured people that we've come across in Doctor Who through different planets and stuff. So yeah, and then I like this part. The doctor at this stage begins basically freaking out about
the
TARDIS again. Once, like, she's trying to find a way off the ship, of course, and at first they're trying to she's trying to find the way, the exit, because she still thinks they're on the same planet, but only now does she click on that they are actually just, they're in space. And not only are they in space, they've been traveling for 4 days away from, in the opposite direction of the TARDIS. So it's like, oh, that's a bit awkward. Not really the way we want to be going about it. And she begins freaking out. And by freaking out, I mean, I'm sitting there like, whoa, you need to... and she rightfully gets called out too, because she, she's sonicking stuff. She's basically looking for a way to turn around the ship. And this other doctor person is explaining, we've got patients on here that need to get to where we're going. They could have life-threatening injuries or any of these sorts of things. You're being really selfish. And then the doctor clicks out of it and is like, oh, yeah, I am. But it is the first time we've seen this new... It's the first time we've seen Jodie Whittaker's doctor kind of lose her cool, like properly lose her cool. And other doctors, especially like if we compare to the previous one, 12th, you see Peter Capaldi get angry, like he outbursts. That was his kind of thing, when he lost control, he could get really angry. I feel like even Matt Smith's and David Tennant, they both had a thing where, they're cool, they're funny, whatever, but if they would snap and get really angry, and that's the mood you didn't want them to get into. Whereas this appears to be Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker seems to, because it's emotional attachment to the TARDIS, that's making her act irrational. It wasn't out of anger, it was like an emotional attachment. And then instead of getting like really angry and shouting and stuff, she was just acting really irrationally in the way that the doctor wouldn't at all. Because when it comes down to it, if you think about the question, would the doctor sacrifice the TARDIS to save even one person's life? I feel like the answer always has to be yes, or else it's not the doctor. Like that's the point. But in this scenario, she was for at least a few split seconds more worried about herself than anyone else in a hospital, which is the other thing, It's the doctor on a hospital ship and trying to take precedence of her own means over anyone else in the hospital. So I thought that was an interesting moment for the new doctor. And at this point, I wrote down ship, but of course we find out I presume it was just the body of the creature that just fucking flung out of nowhere in space. Like the creature wasn't inside some tiny ship. I'm pretty sure it was just out of nowhere. This thing just shoots into the bottom of the ship, and then all of a sudden is on board and crawling around. And at this point, the doctor's talking to the other doctor called Astos, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll go investigate. You just go there, calm down." Of course, the doctor's like, "No, you go look at this side of the ship. I'll go look at this side of the ship." And I thought they had pretty good banter back and forth. I like how he was like, he was saying, trying to tell her how to do all this stuff, and she's like, "I don't like being told what to do." And he said, "I've gathered that much." So I thought they had good banter. And then they head off in opposite directions of the ship. I can't remember exactly which direction, but it's like one head starboard, some other headed other direction. Then we cut to Graham, who walks into the one of the rooms and sees the general's brother is trying to hack into his sister's computer data system. I don't know, like her hospital records. I don't really, something trying to hack something.
Trying to get into her sister's medical records is what he was doing.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Because he has doubts about what her problem is exactly, and rightfully so. Of course, we find out later, but he's trying to work that out. And then Graham begins talking to him about, maybe she's keeping it from you for a reason, etc., etc., etc. So then the doctor finds the portside escape pod. Has jettisons. So it's been At first I was like, why would the monster be sending off the escape pods? That seems weird, like unless it's literally just trying to trap them there. But especially, I didn't quite get it until it makes sense in retrospective with the whole episode. Because even after we meet it in a little bit, I'm still like, why is this thing sending off the escape pods? It's not trying to trap them in there to eat them or anything. It doesn't care about any of that. But then when when the Doctor does the part later in the episode about, oh, it's just trying to eat energy sources, I'm like, oh, it just went past it, happened to eat the energy source for this escape pod, and it happened to, of course, send out the escape pod like it does in the moment for Astos. So in retrospect, I was like, okay, that makes a bit more sense. Astos is down the opposite end of the ship. His escape pod is still there. He makes the silly mistake of entering it, which I was like, come on, haven't you watched any horror movies in the 61st century or whatever crap you've got going on there?
No horror movies in the 67th century.
Apparently not. They cancelled them. You're like, fuck yes, can I travel there?
Yeah. Sounds like a utopia. Except they've still got wars and stuff, so... Yeah.
Well, it's a balancing act, maybe. You got to take one, lose one.
It comes good in the end, apparently, in the century. So head to the end of the century.
Yeah. Well, I mean... And then the galaxy all blows up, apparently, or whatever happens there, so... Yeah, there's signs of happiness amongst the indefinite doom that's coming. So Astos steps inside the pod, gets trapped in there. Which, again, it was like, what? This fucking thing closed the door? But it was just happenstance that he literally walks inside, and right as he walks inside, the creature decides to eat the power supply for it, which sets it all off. So now he's trapped inside, and knowing that he's going to die, he gets on the comms as the Doctor is racing to the opposite end of the ship to try and save him. He gets on the comms, talks to the other Doctor on the ship, Mably, who and she's only been working on the ship for a year, I think he said, compared to him, who I think he said he's done like 10 years or something. Like, he's been on there a lot longer, and he gives a bit of a pep talk of, I've always believed in you, you can do it, that sort of thing. So it was a little bit on the nose. Like, his delivery of the line of, I've always believed in you, I was like, come on, don't, a bit corny. Let's not go with the I've always believed in you line. So then the escape pod is shot off into space and spins around a couple times, then blows up. So yeah, he's dead. That's a definite, I think, at that stage. And then everyone else joins the Doctor in running down to see what the chaos is all about. And down the end of the corridor, they happen to see the creature, which I have seen people point out comparisons on Twitter to the monster from Futurama. And once you've had that said, it's hard to not think about. You remember that little weird creature thing? And I'm not even a big Futurama guy, but as soon as I heard the words Futurama monster, I knew exactly what people were hinting at, like talking about, because your brain just kind of goes, yeah, it kind of does. I mean, it's smaller, but yeah, okay, I get it.
It kind of looks like a hairless Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, a bit more evil. Well, I mean, Stitch was evil, I guess, is the thing.
And it also looks like the monsters in Space Jam before they turn into, they're still the basketball players' powers.
What a connection! Yeah. That's a pull. If I've heard
Space Jam 2 coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon, starring LeBron James. There you go.
Yep.
Check out What Do You Want to Watch, our movie and media podcast, where Ash will talk about it when it releases.
Yep.
Next year. Or it might be out next year, but that's a different thing.
It might.
So the Doctor, they make their way, they see the little alien, which at first, turns around, you're like, oh, that's a little cute thing. And then it opens its mouth and you see it has about 1,000,001 teeth going downwards like a circular saw motion type thing. And you're like, okay, it's little, it's got a temper, it eats apparently everything because it's just chomping at all the metal parts and the cords and whatever else is happening. So that's a bit interesting. The Doctor walks up, tries to sonic it. It's like, oh yeah, that looks good. Eats the sonic, spits it back out. Doctor's like, oh cool, my sonic's back. Power. Yeah, but it's drained all the power. So now I'm like, well, she still has it, but needs a power source. I guess I'm just gonna say by the time we get to next episode, we're in the realm of just presume she's fixed that. That's what.
Well, it rebooted itself during the episode.
Did it?
Yeah.
I wonder how that works.
I don't know.
How weird.
Sonic powers.
It's weird. I don't understand, but I'll buy it. So then they run away from it because of course it's eating stuff and it's angry and it's little and I personally wouldn't go near it if I was on the ship. Is all I'm saying.
Too many teeth.
Yeah, too many teeth is the hashtag. Too many teeth is the correct the correct way to describe this thing. I feel. So they go back to the command center room and they bring up the computer system and look for what it is and get some information about it, and it's called a pating, which I was like, pating. I like the name because it was easy to pating. Like I have no idea if I've written it down correctly, the spelling correctly, but it doesn't matter because it's easy to remember and say pating. Yeah, like I didn't have to think about it. Pating, I like it. And it seems to fit it as well. Tiny little. You're like, oh yeah, pating seems to fit. The computer gives it a threat level of chalice, which I was like, okay. Is it in the year 60 whatever century, whatever the 61st century or whatever they're in, they no longer use red, yellow, threat level, orange. Like no, chalice, diamond, whatever threat levels we're using here. And then
that makes sense.
Yeah, sure, why not? And then it also says that no pating has been kept in captivity ever because they will just eat through whatever you try to keep them in. But then I was like, why don't you make an organic cell? Like, straight away you can search it. It's like, it eats, no one's ever kept one in capacity.
So make a cell out of dead animals?
Yeah. Why not?
Messed up.
Well, I mean,
go see a taxidermist.
Yeah, do what you need to do.
You do this up for me, mate.
Yeah. It's better than just being like, oh, fuck, it escaped out of the 10th attempt we've had of using our strongest 61st century
massive
seal.
Metal, plastic prison.
It's just like, it's small. Just fucking get a horse, chuck it inside the belly.
Just sew it up.
Have you ever seen this classic movie, Star Wars Episode 5, where a guy using a laser sword cuts open a beast and then sleeps in it?
Yeah.
Do that. Pating.
Just need to lock it up.
It's not in that movie he sleeps in it. It's comfy. Yeah. This for patings, that's a cell. As a cell. Staple it up. Done. Keep it in there. Got him. Star Wars teaches you everything, even in the 61st century.
I'm sure they couldn't scrape their way out. They just
Well, only one way to find out. By the sounds of this, they haven't even tried it, Ash. So
yeah, that's true.
Disappointing. So then they head back and they run into the pregnant man, and he's Ryan and Yaz run into the pregnant man, and this was a quite funny bit where they ask, he's like, oh, do you know what it is yet? And he says, oh, it's a boy. And they're like, oh, how do you know? And he says, boys give birth to boys and girls give birth to girls, and that just must be how their species works. But that was a little funny thing. And then when he asks, well, how's it work on your planet? And they're like, it's a girls do it all, and it's a bit of a mystery. And he's like, oh, that sounds horrible. I always like in Doctor Who when they have, because they often do moments like this where the human companion characters will explain stuff to aliens, creatures and stuff, and they just explain how it is on Earth, and the response is always something along, it's always like that's horrible. Yeah. Even if what they're doing
so weird,
yeah, but to them it's like it's so odd. Yeah. I always enjoy it because it's that thing of like, no matter how normal something is to you, it could be somebody really else. Weird. Someone else could find it really, really weird. So, so after talking to him for a bit, they talk about ask him about if he wants to keep the baby or not. And he says, I don't know if I'm ready. Probably just give it up for adoption or something, I guess, or however they go about it, which then gets Ryan's mind thinking about his own father, because he's saying, the pregnant man along with himself probably around the same age when his dad had Ryan, so that gets him thinking about his father. And then Yaz starts talking to him about his dad, and we find out that Ryan hasn't seen his dad for a year at this stage, and the last time they had interaction, it apparently didn't go down too well. And then Yaz asks a question that audience members probably have been thinking, which is what actually happened to his mum. Because of course, we was even talking about it last week. It's like, are we going to meet his dad? There's a lot of family history of Ryan that we're like confused about. So She asks how his mum died, and we find out that she had a heart attack one day randomly. She was just cleaning the dishes, had a horrible heart attack, and Ryan was the one at 13 years old who had to walk into the kitchen to find her on the floor. And that was also, it seems, the cause of his dad drifting away, who couldn't handle or deal with the loss of his wife. And Ryan pays off with this line about saying, I kind of look like my mum. And so that whole thing about maybe his dad didn't like seeing his dead wife or, partner within within Ryan, I guess. So kind of seems like he's kept himself at a bit of a distance and kind of gone downhill since she died, it seems.
Grief is weird.
Yeah, that's that's one way. That's the thing. Like everything he's saying here, the way his dad acting and stuff like that. I've never personally seen, people go through something like that, but you hear about. I know people, met people who talk about similar sorts of scenarios. So it does just sound like one of those cases. But then it also brings up the point of, I guess we're gonna have a Ryan dad confrontation down the line. That feels like it has to be.
I mean, you have to at this point. You built it up.
Yeah.
Over a couple episodes now. Yeah. They have to eventually pay it off. Otherwise, why bring it up?
Yeah. Well, even with the small mention of the ladder last week, I suppose, and that was a tiny one. And this week they have a full-on conversation. So it does seem like that's something we're building to, a bit of confrontation there. But then confrontation with his dad is also going to help be about his relationship with Graham as well, I feel, at the same time. So it's all going to be encompassed into the one thing.
Well, I don't know if this is a good point to bring it up, but I saw a theory going around.
Just bring it up.
Someone mentioned it, that Graham is going to die at the end of the season.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Extrapolate on that. Where's the basis?
It's just how the story arc looks like it's going to go. That
I haven't been
and be back with
Grace,
whatever the grand's mum was. Yeah.
Grace. Yeah. That's no.
I just saw that seems to be his story progression. Like that at the end of the season he'll die and he'll be back together with Grace.
I don't like it.
He and Ryan will finally be happy, be a united unit, and then
no.
How about that's how these things go?
How about no? Because he's my favorite of the.
I know he's the best, but
he's funny.
But
they can't because Bradley Walsh, Welsh, whatever his actor name is. He's kind of like the guy who plays Doctor whatever in the Flash, like Firestorm and all that, who ended up in Legends of Tomorrow. Now, he's the older actor with more experience that kind of brings the team together, So I'm gonna chuck a big old no.
It could happen. Prepare yourselves.
I don't want it. I don't want that to be a thing at all. But no, Graham is not dying. You're reading bullshit Reddit theories. Where'd that even come from?
Barger.
On the Whovians.
Yep.
Look, don't watch that ABC crap. If you want your true Doctor Who after show, it's right here at twitch.tv/explosion or youtube.com/explosion or explosion.network.com. Fish fingers and custard. Not that ABC crap. It's pretty good. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's fine, but this is the one, Ash. Don't promote other shows. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. So then the Doctor is now left with the problem in the command room of discovering that it's either A, let the Niffler or the Pating. I got hurt. Pating. Let the Pating eat the ship away and they all die, or if the home base that they're headed to, the big hospital place, finds out what's happening, they're just going to activate a bomb on the ship and blow them all the fuck up anyway. So either way, they're kind of left in a shitty place.
Yeah, they're kind of screwed either way.
They are left in a horrible place. Hello to Rocket Mummy in the chat. Is it Harry Potter now? Maybe. But I don't know why the thing reminded me of a Niffler. It's probably just because Harry Potter's coming out soon, to be fair. So
it looks nothing like a Niffler.
It does look nothing like a Niffler, but I think I've just got Harry Potter on the brain, to be fair.
Yeah.
So then the doctor heads into the room. We got everyone in there, the general, her people, the pregnant man, everyone's in there. The doctor explains the whole situation. We're either A, fucked, or we're B, fucked, is pretty much what it boils down to.
She was more eloquent. Yeah,
she was a lot more eloquent, but I'm Australian, Ash, and that's how I would just charge into the charge into the room. Look, you're fucked, or you're fucked. All right, and that's how we're looking at it. And she's like, the general's like, cool, I'll come help you. I've got experience. I've done battle. It sounded like she just lost a battle against a particular before, so she's like, no worry, I'll come help you. Sounds great. The water then proceeds to break in the man's body for the baby. The sentence I've never thought...
Questions.
The sentence I've never thought would have to say it out loud, actually.
So many questions.
So, pregnant man's all of a sudden like, fuck. Other birthing pod power's out. The doctor lady's saying, we got backup power generators.
Yeah.
It'll all be fine. The birthing pod will still be... they never really explain what the birthing pod thing is. I'm going to guess it's a really futuristic thing that just makes the birthing process a lot more comfortable and easy.
I don't think there was anything there that needed power.
I don't know.
They seem to apparently it's painless wherever they were meant to cut to get the baby out, and then
I don't know.
What else do you need?
I don't know exactly. Well,
just to stitch him back up.
Well, I don't know,
to keep the baby warm or something. I know after.
Maybe, I don't know, but it was really worried about not having the birthing thing. But then all of a sudden it was, when they explained, oh, but they don't feel pain in their bellies when they cut them open to get the baby out. Then you are a bit like,
why?
I mean, we're trying to think logistically into something that they didn't go into too much detail about, because then you're like, is it hurting him, but he's not pushing the baby out? Like, are there contraptions?
How do you get pregnant to start off with?
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. So they rush off. He wants on the way out. The pregnant man asks for Graham and Ryan to be his doulas.
Yeah,
which I just took as because they've only got one doctor on board as two other people that usually help with the birthing. I don't know. He particularly wanted men to be there because he didn't just want to be...
Because he's sexist. I don't know.
Yeah. The thing is like... So Rain...
Can't have women looking at my bits.
Looking at my bits? It's just your belly, mate. Like, it wasn't... Not even like... So then... They kind of, like we are now. A bit
reluctantly agree.
They're like, I don't understand. We may all die. So, yes, the last thing I'd like to do is help this guy give birth to a baby. To give birth to a baby. So that's what they do. So then on the way out, the Melby explains that the general does have something more wrong with her than she's putting on. But she can't disclose it because of doctor-patient confidentiality, Ash. And this is one of those moments where I'm like, fucking hell, lady. Look, we're all about to die. Can you fuck your doctor-patient confidentiality crap out of here? This is definitely not the time for any of that nonsense. So
she's legally obligated, Dylan.
Until death.
Ethically.
Until death, apparently. So, she tells her, you're a doctor, right? Look into it. And then she heads off to help with the birthing process, and the doctor heads off with the general and people to the antimatter room. So they head into the antimatter room, and the doctor, Yaz, the general, her bodyguard person, and her brother are all there, and the doctor does a monologue really about how much she loves the antimatter machine, because it seems to... Look, I'm listening, and I still didn't really... To be fair, when I'm watching Doctor Who, because I have to do this show, I'm like trying to write notes at the same time, which is I'm like putting myself at a disadvantage. So I don't know if it made more sense to you, but I was like, was it a machine that basically draws junk from like the air and just turns it into energy? Like it's basically...
It was some powering thing.
It was some...
Explanations.
It's creating power, but in a way that the doctor was quite happy about and proud of, like it was a really great invention. And I was just taking it as it does draw, I don't know, antimatter or whatever. Like, so nothingness, like dusk particles or anything, you know, like random shit from the air or whatever from space, I guess, like stuff that you wouldn't even see.
Okay, so here's what she said. Apparently there's a particle accelerator inside. So the particle accelerator smashes the atoms together like a little antimatter factory that produce positrons, which are stored very carefully inside electric and magnetic fields. Positrons interact with the fuel materials that produce heat, which produce thrust. And that's your science lesson for this week.
Signed off by Ashley Hobley. So yeah, it just sounds like a really good resource, energy power.
Sounds like it works.
Yeah, it sounds like it works. Yeah, that's the tick. It sounds like it works.
Yeah.
But it basically boils down to it's the thing that's powering the ship. So hey, Yaz, hey, bodyguard person, how about you stay here? You protect it from the pating. Because if it gets it, then yous are all, well, we're all up shit creek at that stage. So now the general explains to the doctor when the doctor kind of gets him, is like, look, you need to tell me what's wrong with you. What's the dealio happening here? And the general explains that she has pilot's heart, which they never really explained, but I took as too much time spent flying the way they do, like, I don't know, like ruined her body to a degree. I didn't really, because the name pilot's heart sounds like a name that, which it's not a medical term, you know. It's just like a thing to describe the way it is. And then they do say later it is something to do with her heart, and then of course, spoilers, she dies shortly flying again. So it did seem like a thing maybe where her body just couldn't handle the way they fly in that suit, whatever they do later.
I think it was something to do with adrenaline, right? So when her adrenaline rises, it causes pressure on her heart. Yeah. So obviously you get a lot of adrenaline from
flying that
situation.
Yeah. Because she kept putting the anti-adrenaline or whatever.
Adrenaline blockers.
Adrenaline blockers. Okay, there we go. That's the
I don't know why you need adrenaline blockers when you're just sitting around doing nothing, but whatever. Should have saved it for emergencies.
If you're like me, Ash, everything's fucking stressful, so I'll need
that's fair.
I would need these goddamn adrenaline blockers. But she's like, no, I'll be fine. And her brother says that he could set up a makeshift piloting system for the ship in the command room because he's some sort of technician, engineer, or something like that. And here's where I've actually wrote down 67th century. I was saying 61st this whole thing, but 67th century piloting technique that they use. I presume when they actually use it, because they put in like the little eye thing and a bunch of those like fucking motion tracking dot things over her arm later. I presume if they're in actual ships, it's more of a bodysuit thing and you actually just sit in the ship and you fly it, kind of like they do. Now I was picturing Black Panther, you know, like she just sits there flying that way. There's really no controls, but so meanwhile, Graham and Ryan over at the birthing palace are dealing with the guy about to give birth. He's struggling with the fact that he doesn't want to be a father, really, or deal with that thing, and then B doesn't have the birthing pod because the backup generator didn't actually work, and he's kind of flipping his lid. But as we were saying before, don't really understand what it was, unless it was literally going to knock him out or something. Maybe that knocks him out. They operate on him, but even then, you don't feel anything. But I don't know. But having said that, as I think about it, if I felt nothing in my belly, if someone's to cut open my belly and I wouldn't feel the pain or anything, I would still prefer to be knocked out, I think. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I would prefer not to be... see it. I don't want to know about it, you know? Just knock me the fuck out, get the baby out, get it over with. So, maybe that's what his problem was. There, I guess. Of course, they are doing a lot of...
I feel like 50% of the world's population have a different opinion on this, but...
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's an interesting. I mean, of course, what they're going for is that they give us the pregnant male character, and they're trying to, because they've got him there flipping out, and they've got the other male characters of like trying to calm him and all this sort of stuff. There is, I wouldn't say, like, people complaining like, oh, it's too PC, that's JW nonsense. I'm like, why? Like, they're just trying to flip the lid using, because it's a fucking
general reversal.
Yeah, it's like a sci-fi TV show. They can do things like this. They can flip the lid and kind of go, yeah, but here's what it would be like if a guy was doing it, blah, blah, blah. So, interesting. So then back in the antimatter room, Yaz and Ryan run into trouble with the Pating, who makes its way up through the ground somehow, bursts out. They both shoot it.
Ate its way out,
that's true. They both shoot it quite promptly, and then the creature is down, paralyzed for a couple seconds. Yaz wraps it up in the blanket that the doctor gave her that is able to...
Medical blanket.
Able to touch the Pating, because if you touch it, otherwise
it's toxic.
It's toxic at some degree. I guess you just die, is the thing.
Poison.
Okay. She then proceeds to run outside the door, and then basically fucking drop kicks this thing across the road in a bit of glorious fashion. She wasn't like, I'll chuck it or anything. She just like, yeah, nah. Drop kick this one, fucking goal, mate, across the room. So that was a bit funny. The general at this stage straps in for full suit, takes control of the ship and sets off manual controls as the doctor sends off a different signal to the main planet that they're headed to trick them into still thinking that they're in control of the ship. And then the doctor goes and finds the bomb inside the craft to try and deal with that, of course. The bomb that they would set off if they found out that they had lost control of the ship and just blow up the whole... I love how it's like, we're the Red Cross of the future and we save people and we pick people up in trouble across all of the galaxy, but the moment we think something's wrong, we'll fucking kill them all. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like...
Ultimate quarantine.
Yeah, it'd be like a hospital in real life having bombs built into them, and they're like, oh, someone's coming with a new disease, it's really sick, do we quarantine them? No. Blow the whole hospital up. Yeah,
it's the only way to protect everybody.
The future is bright, they say, Ash, you know, like the 67th century is something. So Doctor does find the bomb with Yaz, and she takes it and puts it into... I wasn't sure what it was at first, but then I'm like, is this the room where maybe the escape pod was, and it's like just an empty room sitting now or something like that? Don't really know. But sits into a room, asks Yaz for a number. Yaz says 51, which is the amount of seconds the doctor then puts into it, which Yaz gets a little bit annoyed when she's like, what was the number for? And the doctor says, was it how long I put on the bomb? She's like, well, if you told me that's what it was, I would have put more seconds on it. But then,
lucky she didn't go low.
Yeah, lucky she was like, 3 seconds. Yeah, that would be really awkward. But then the doctor's like, 51's a good number though, and like lists off many reasons that apparently 51 is a great number to her. So puts it in a small room. The idea being huge energy source. Pating likes energy source. Hopefully the Pating will come and eat the bomb.
Said energy source.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back over in Pregnancy Palace. I'm saying that because I don't really know where they are. I mean, it's like they're in a hospital. The whole ship's a hospital. Where they're in the birthing palace. They're in the birthing room. Okay.
Birthing room.
The birthing room. Ryan's still dealing with the baby thing. They've come down to the situation.
Convince him he's going to be a good dad.
Malby is explaining that she's going to have to cut open his belly to get the baby out.
As you do.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm still confused if that was if there was an option. Because the way she said it just made it seem like that's how it just goes for their species, full stop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, but it's not really important, but.
It's not important.
No. But yeah,
still questions.
Yeah, it's still questions. You can't help but wonder for these sorts of things. I guess, you're just like, how's it work?
How's it work?
Ryan Ryan, begins talking him through though about being a father. You're a really good guy. You could be a really great dad. Blah 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 blah. Gets down this thing.
Just gotta show up.
Just do it. I like how that's what I'm saying. Like I really like the guy who was playing the pregnant guy, because he was funny at times and whatever else. But even when we got down to these scenes and Ryan's trying to be more serious and comfort him and say stuff like that, he didn't suddenly switch modes. He was still like, he kept his tone. He wasn't like trying to be super funny, but he was still just a bit like, really, you think I'd be a good dad? Like, oh fuck, I don't want to do this. So it was fun. I like the way they bounced off, and it's also, I guess, Ryan projecting his feelings about his father, if he was to be a dad now, etc., 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 onto this other guy with the conversation that we had earlier in the episode. And him basically using him as a means to talk about that, I guess. So the Pating shows up at the bomb. Takes its fucking time though. I think it shows up within the last 10 seconds or something. Yeah, it's like, just make it. It's literally walked up with basically a sandwich. Like, oh, here's a bigger sandwich. Guess I'll jump over to this one. Pating walks in, eats the bomb. I was like, oh, this is quite tasty. Oh, bit of an upset stomach though. Like, it's me after I have accidentally have a little bit of milk in there. I was like, oh, did you put milk in that, guys? Oh dear, oh god. So that was basically what the Pating is dealing with here. But the bomb does explode inside of it, blows up its stomach a little bit, turns a bit red, but it does digest, suck in, absorb all of the energy somehow, which the doctor I like how the doctor watches first to make sure it's still alive. She's like, oh, it absorbed all the energy. That's really great. Glad this thing's gonna live. Opens the door, and off you go into the vacuum of space.
I mean, she knew it was gonna live in the vacuum of space.
Yeah, she's like, I know you're not gonna die, but I don't know if you're going to have a happy life out there, but we'll presume you could show up and nearly destroy another Red Cross ship that's out there in the middle of space. Yeah. It'll be fine. It's
You're well fed.
Yeah. It's all good. I hope you enjoyed your lunch here on our Red Cross ship. That was really good. And then we get that the birth, we cut back, then the birth is successful. Melby hands over a baby. Ryan, Graham are all very happy. Still a little bit weirded out. They're like, yeah, we did the thing. Yeah. we did the thing. We don't know how we did it, but we did it. And yeah, Ryan continues talking about, it's great, baby. You look happy with it. Blah 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 blah. And then Ryan and Graham get to cut the umbilical cord together. Yeah, because that was a co-op job. Yeah,
you need to be. Both things apparently need to be cut at the same time, but they both seem to be cutting at the same point.
Yeah, it was like we need to do it. We need to do it together at the same point, but we'll both cut directly at the same place.
I know you were supposed to cut the other end.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't seem like it made sense, but then the back in the control room, the general's heart did give out to her issue, so she's presumably had a heart attack or something, and she's dead on the floor.
Just gave out.
Yeah, and her brother has taken over. Which at first I was like, hold on, if she's plugged into the ship and she has a heart attack, wouldn't the ship just like plummet? Like does it? Don't know. But then her brother has had enough time to put on all the necessary items and do what's necessary, and he's flying in the ship, and at this stage it seems like he's close to landing it, so all is well there as they're pulling into the station. Mm-hmm. We cut back, everyone's kind of back in the room with the baby and everything happening over here, and we find out that he's going to call the baby Avocado, because apparently avocado pear, because apparently in the history books where he's from, there was a great hero called Avocado Pear. Try and work that one out.
Just wait. president of the United States.
Avocado pear. Look, I know the election's up soon. Donald Trump versus avocado pear.
Who leads us into the next great age of the human race?
Yeah, of the human race. Yeah, well, sounds good to me. Sign me up. You know. They did point out that because he's like, I'm going to name.
You think a child hasn't been called avocado at this point?
I mean, it probably has. Let's be honest. Some celebrities,
some kid running, some avocado running around,
some avocado running around. Yeah, some freaking celebrities probably done it. But I like how he's like, I'm going to name him after you, and I'm going to name it Avocado Pear because if your history and whatever else.
Great
like,
Earth hero.
Yeah, and then Graham and Ryan get into an argument about whether an avocado is a fruit or a vegetable, and then proceed to get in an argument about if he was going to name the baby actually after their names, if it would be Graham Ryan or Ryan Graham. At which point he's like, call it either of those names. My kid would get made fun of at school. So that was quite funny.
Future.
The future, isn't that crazy? Then they have the general's body is up on a table in the middle of the room. They got a blanket over it or something, and they all stand around and do this poem, I guess is what you'd call it, which is, this is what I'm saying, if I read it again, tell me this doesn't sound like more of like a sea shanty type thing. May the saints of all the stars and constellations bring you hope as they guide you out of the dark and into the light on this voyage and the next, and all the journeys still to come for now and evermore. Doesn't
sounds like a prayer.
I suppose, yeah. To me, it just sounded like a space sea shanty, you know? Like, that's more than...
That would be weird to sing over and over again.
Probably,
I think.
I liked it, though. I thought it was a cool way to end the episode.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't need to show them arriving at the thing. They didn't need to show... They had a quick line...
Getting back in the TARDIS.
They didn't... Yeah, because they had a quick line where they're like, your teleportation has been set up for when you arrive, so you'll be able to shoot back there and get to the TARDIS. We don't need to see them get back to there. That's fine. We don't need to see the baby get off and whatever happens after then, because like we've been through the whole emotion of him deciding to keep the baby and raise it. So that's that story, you know. So just ending it there with the cool little poem or religious rhyme. I don't know, whatever it is. I thought that was a cool ending for the episode. So of course, this week's villain, monster, the Pating.
Yeah.
What are you going to rate the Pating, Ash?
Guts is 7.
7.
Yeah,
7
it's cool, but it didn't like. It wasn't like. It was sort of just there to be a problem for them to deal with, not like an active antagonist against them.
Yeah,
which I think makes a good villain. But
that's fair.
Yeah.
It was more about dealing with, like, it was causing trouble, but then most episode was about.
It didn't mean to cause trouble.
That's true. It probably doesn't know what it's doing either.
Yeah, it's just nature.
Nurture. I'll give it a 6.
Yeah,
I'll give it a 6. I enjoyed it. I think we agree. Your score's a little bit higher than me.
I thought you were going to go higher.
Nah, it's got a cool name to say. It was fine. Pating. Yeah, it's a cool name to say. It served its purpose in the episode. You know, like it wasn't super boring. It wasn't super exciting, but I do like the name. It was fine. And it looked cool. And it looked cool also. And at the start of the episode, as I was saying, I did enjoy its, like, even if it was a simplistic solution to the problem, that it was very predictable. I was like, hey, that's fine. I like how they wrapped it up there. I'm fine with that.
Another showcase of how far the CGI graphics have gone. Because I saw someone, they showed like on Twitter, they were showing a picture of the Pating, and then someone's like, oh, it's cute, but not as cute as this adipose.
Oh, do you remember the adipose?
Like, yeah. It does not age well.
I haven't watched that episode for quite some time, but I can't really imagine. Although they're cute.
Yeah, they're cute, but they're not good looking.
No, they don't look as good as our Pating over here. Any wrapping up thoughts for this week's episode?
Yeah, it was a good episode. Another solid entry. Looking forward to more. It's good to see Ryan sort of fleshed out a bit more, I think. I feel like everybody else he's probably the one who hasn't been fleshed out as much. So to get a bit more of his backstory.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, next week we're going to get all about Yaz. as we are traveling back in time to meet her grandmother when she was a young'un. Is how it goes. But that does make me wonder, because I'm like, surely the Doctor has a rule, you can't. Like, I thought there was a rule that you can't go back and
interact with people from your own timeline.
I thought, yeah. So I'm now wondering how this ends up happening, because I thought there was a reason that we didn't do these sorts of things. But
I guess she just breaks the rules.
Yes, sir. But yeah, next week I'll be all about Yaz as we find out more about her family's history, and then it's also if she chose to go there, why her grandmother specifically, because she hasn't talked about her grandmother as far as I'm aware so far. Like, there's no she was like, I'll go back random person's like history I kind of like my dad when he was a kid, my mum when she was a kid, something.
It could just be a coincidence that they're in the same timeline and her grandmother's there.
That would be a very lucky, timely coincidence if that's how that happens to work out. But we'll see. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Fish Fingers and Custard. Of course, if you want to watch the show live, you can watch it live on twitch.tv/Explosion Network, where we do record it there whenever we decide to do it, which is after we've watched the episode before the next week's episode. If you want to know
in that space,
if you want to know when we're doing it, make sure you're following the Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. Is how to go about it, or just constantly refresh our Twitch page events, and you'll just see it appear one day.
Yeah, make sure you have notifications on.
Yeah, Twitter's probably the easiest way to go about it, though. If you want to listen to it or watch it in other means, you can head on over to youtube.com/Explosion Network. Subscribe there, where the video of the show goes up 24 hours later after recording on Twitch. You can also subscribe to the audio version on all the audio podcasting platforms of your choice, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, however you want to go about it. That also goes up 24 hours after we record it on Twitch. Just search for Fish Fingers and Custard or Explosion Network and just scroll down and you'll see it show up there at some point. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. You can follow Ashley on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. Don't forget to head on over to explosionnetwork.com for all our other great content. As per mentioned before, what do you want to watch? The Netflix #1 media podcast in the world.
there might be talking about Doctor Who this week.
Well, there you go. You never know. Tune in, subscribe to that one too. Thank you for joining us. Until next week. Bye-bye. What's this week's sign-off comment, Ash?
Use protection, guys.
That's solid.